What's going on, guys? Welcome to the channel. Hope you're having a great day. Today we're going to be testing the difference between an iPhone 15 Pro Max and a Sony a7S III, which I cannot show you right now because I am filming on it. Alright, so this first shot that we're doing is going to be a detail shot. As you can see, the Sony a7S III has no problem. It gets a nice shallow depth of field and makes this look really nice. The colors all look really good. The exposure is set properly. However, once we switch over to the iPhone here, you can see that the iPhone actually has some issues in cinematic mode focusing. I don't exactly know why that is. I'm sure they'll fix it in the future iPhones, but every shot I've set up so far, it just has a very difficult time finding its focus and keeping its focus on a moving target. And you know, something I'm not mad at is the color of the iPhone footage actually looks really good. On the a7S III, I'm shooting 60 frames per second, 4K, f2.8. I'm using a Sigma 24-70 lens. On the iPhone, I am in cinematic log mode, as to be able to achieve just a little bit better dynamic range out of that image. I know a lot of issues with iPhone's quality in the past is that it just looks very digitized and it has that really sharp digital look, whereas oftentimes with a camera like this that we're shooting on right now, it's just a little bit softer, smooths out those edges, makes the colors look a lot better. So the next shot is a little bit more of a wide shot just to see how much dynamic range we're actually capturing. That is the thing about iPhone, where you're actually going to be better off in a run and gun style setting because it does use AI features and just features within the phone that expose it properly in every area. So instead of certain areas being blown out like windows or something, if you're inside, it's going to try to expose for all of that. Versus with the Sony, it is strictly relying on the settings within the camera to expose properly. Now, one thing you want to keep in mind as well that is super important for your shooting is convenience. This thing is in my pocket at all times and I can pull it out and I can have a decent camera no matter what. So it really depends on what you're trying to do. If you're trying to shoot, say, a short film, I would say go with something like the Sony a7S III because you have a lot more options as far as settings. Interchangeable lenses let you be a little bit more creative with what you're doing, versus if you're just like vlogging day to day and you need something that's run and gun style, I'd say the a7S III might even be a little bit overkill, where you're carrying around this big bulky camera, you need extra equipment for it, you need lenses, you need to spend quite a bit more money, versus this, you're kind of getting the camera when you buy the phone anyways, so the justification is there. That does bring us into our next topic though, which would be low light, which iPhone has notoriously always been very bad in low light. Sony has always been very good in low light. So we're gonna take a semi-low light situation here and kind of see how both the cameras perform. So as we're looking at the Sony shot here, we can see that everything is very clear. Again, this operates very well in low light. So Sony does have dual native ISO, which basically just means that you can have your ISO at 640 or 12,800 and get very limited noise while introducing artificial light. I had to bump this all the way up to 12,800 in order to get enough light in the room to be able to expose correctly. Now looking at the iPhone shot, you can see that it actually did fairly well in the low light situation. However, if you do any zooming in, or if you're trying to color grade this or do anything like that, you just have very little that you're able to do, because you can see that the footage just comes back very grainy, kind of pixelated, very fuzzy. Doesn't even look like it's entirely in focus. The next thing we're going to be testing out is just checking both these cameras to see about how stable they are while handheld. Granted, with something like a Sony a7, I'm probably going to be using a gimbal most of the time while I'm shooting, just because that is what's going to get me the best quality. You can also get a gimbal for the phone. I don't know if it's entirely necessary. Again, it really just depends on your use case. All right, so this is no post stabilization here. This is just me walking. I'm not doing too much of a ninja walk or anything, but I'm also not stomping around. And as you can see, we actually do get some good bumps, and you can see me walking with the a7S III. It's very apparent that I'm not using a gimbal or something like that. I was walking pretty normal, pretty smooth, and you could definitely pick up those bumps. All right, so as you can see right off the bat, the iPhone footage is extremely stable. You can see the walking motion. However, a little bit of stabilization in editing and that would be completely gone. Again, especially for run and gun style stuff, the iPhone does great as far as stabilization. I would say it still comes in behind the Sony only due to the fact that low light situations are just not going to be your friend. If it's a perfect lighting situation, that's great. And hopefully if you're shooting outside, shooting at your house, you can kind of control the lighting environment as far as being outside, having a lot of light come in, or if you're inside, hopefully introducing some type of artificial lighting so that way you can, you know, get the proper exposure for your image. The only other thing with iPhone that I really don't like is something I was even setting up outside with this shot. I wasn't able to see myself when I was setting up the shot. So when I'm going like this, setting up the shot with the camera front facing, I can't actually see what shot I'm setting up. Versus with the Sony here, I can actually see what I'm setting up, so that way I can set up my composition, I can make sure the exposure's okay, I can adjust for different settings. So considering that you do have this thing in your pocket all the time, it's such a good option as far as versatility, being able to shoot everything you want on there. It actually picks up quite good audio, even if you don't have lavalier mics like I have here. So yeah, overall, I would say that the iPhone 15 for people who are running gun style shooting, not making money with a camera, that this is a really good option to start with and then hopefully upgrade later. And if you're looking to make money and show up to shoots and actually get stuff that's really good quality, industry standard that people are looking for, I would say go with something closer to the Sony a7S III or even an a7 III, a7S II. All these cameras are great. Just look up the specs as to what you want. All cameras are different, of course, and the Sony a7S III has been the flagship in hybrid cameras for the last, 8 years or whatever it is for a reason. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Please like and subscribe if you like this kind of content. Comment down below if there's anything else that you want to tackle as far as comparisons, video tips, whatever it might be. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.